Welcome to episode 97 of Drew's Sports Crew. Here on this Monday afternoon / evening, myself, Drew Skyberg, bringing you the news in the sports world. And today also is, of course, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I just wanted to, take a moment here and just reflect on his legacy and all the great things he has done. So with that here, let's get right into the news in the sports world. And we're going to start with the Eastern Wisconsin Conference, and we'll be touching on, boys and girls basketball. And then we're going to be going to the Milwaukee Bucks, and we'll talk about, they actually had a game today on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So we'll touch on that game. And then we're going to go to Milwaukee Brewers. We'll touch on some news. We'll touch on some signings. So that's going to be the episode today. No Packers in this one, but we'll keep it moving here. And we're going to go right away to the Eastern Wisconsin Conference. We'll go to the boys basketball. We'll start with boys today. And here we go. The standing update, the standings report for boys basketball. Goes Brilliant 7-0 in conference, 14-0 overall. Kiel 6-1 in conference, 11-1 overall. Valders 5-2 in conference, 9-4 overall. Two Rivers 3-4 in conference, 7-7 overall. Roncalli 3-4 in conference, 5-8 overall. New Holstein 2-5 in conference, 2-12 overall. Sheboygan 1-6 in conference, 1-11 overall. Chilton 1-6 in conference, 3-9 overall. And right now, win streak wise, we're looking Brilliant 7-0 conference win streak. And then we have Valders with a 3-game win streak, Kiel with a 2-game win streak. So those top three teams right now in the EWC. And on the stats side, let's give you some stats. Jeremy Lorenz leads the way, shocker, 21.6 points per game. Pierce Arns is 18.7 points, is second. And right behind him by 0.1 points is Cole Hovey of Valders. Brady Richards of Two Rivers, 17 a game for him. A nice season for Richards. 14.4 points a game. Fifth place is Max Miller. And that's your points per game leaders in the EWC. Rebounds, do I need to read it? It's the same three every week. Grant Munn's 13.1 a game is atop the conference. Jeremy Lorenz, 11.8 a game. Then Cole Hovey, 8.8 a game. And the assists, assists is just like that. Parker Brown, 6.8 assists per game. In this season, I pointed right to assist leaders. We'll have to check the record, but right now I believe, he is averaging the most assists we've seen in the EWC since it newly became, or the new EWC. But I need to double check that. And when I say new EWC, it was like 2015-ish. Is when we saw that. Will Feuerbringer, second place, 4.2 assists. Pierce Arns, 4.1. That rounds out the assists per game leaders. We do have a basketball game tonight. We have multiple basketball games tonight. We have two. North Fond du Lac's going to travel to Kiel at 7 o'clock tonight. New Holstein's got to go to St. Mary's Springs. So those are your two games tonight. That second one I mentioned, 7:15 p.m. tip-off. We got some games tomorrow. St. Lawrence Seminary is going to go to Chilton tomorrow to play the Tigers at home for Chilton. Plymouth is going to go to Roncalli, a tough test for the Jets. Kiel is going to go to Winnebago Lutheran. And then Friday, we got some conference action. We have Chilton traveling around Roncalli, New Holstein to Kiel, Sheboygan Falls to Brilliant, and Two Rivers to Valders. So if you want your most competitive one, I think Roncalli's got that one at home in the Jet Hangar. You got to like Kiel over New Holstein. You love Brilliant over Sheboygan Falls. You like Valders over Two Rivers. Those are my picks in the conference slate on Friday, but stay tuned for that. All at 7 o'clock. Saturday, we have a non-con game, and that's really it for boys here. Mayville is going to travel to Kiel. 1:45 tip on a Saturday is that one. But yeah, Brilliant, just to touch on kind of what we've seen midway through-ish the year. I like to say we're like 60%, maybe 65 already. But what we're seeing is Brilliant, do what many expected, run away here with the conference. And when I say run away, I mean Kiel right now they lost to Brillion first time around, but if Kiel wins this second time around against Brillion, you could have co-champs. I believe they'll do co-champs here. So, Brillion, of course, hasn't really looked like they've faltered. I mean, they've had some moments, some games, but for the most part, they have stayed on track. And that's kind of what I expect to continue here for the Brillion Lions. Kiel, too, right? I mean, we talked about that one hiccup against Brillion, but other than that, they've been smooth sailing as well. And we kind of have Valders, a tier off. They're 9-4, so they've played well. Cole Hovey's looking like a top player in the conference. We know he's unanimous first teamer, but this team has some shooters around him, and that's kind of where they get their points. So that's kind of those top three. I mentioned Brady Richards for Two Rivers. Probably, I'll go down and say it. The biggest surprise of the conference is Richards' scoring ability. And maybe those who have followed Richards will just, will be like, hey, this is what we expected moving forward. But, I'm just saying overall EWC, not many. We're expecting Brady Richards to be number 4 in conference in scoring. With Roncalli at 5, the takeaway, right, has been how they've adjusted to the Matt Garceau era, or why do I say Matt Garceau? Joe Garceau. Was I thinking Mike Brosseau of the Brewers? Maybe, but Joe Garceau era of the Roncalli Jets. A new era here with Josh Erickson, but Roncalli. I was at the Roncalli Brilliant game. Look, this team's tough. I mean, at the Jet Hangar, like I could have been, just. I was at the game and watching it. It was like, okay, well, this Roncalli team, it doesn't matter. It almost felt like it didn't matter, who was playing on this Roncalli team. It felt like they're going to keep it close no matter who the opponent is, no matter who they are, just because of how well coached they are, the atmosphere at the Jet Hangar, right? I mean, look, this Brilliant team is, they're 14-0, Roncalli's 5-8. And Roncalli played them as tough as they would, any other year. And it was, I mean, that's a testament to the coaching staff, right? I mean, the players too, and day in, day out. I mean, they might not have the players they had last year, which they don't, right? But they are still able to always put together, and they'll play a good 40 minutes or good 36 minutes. My apologies. And that's kind of what you're looking for in, a basketball team. And that Roncalli, even on a down year, is still a tough team. I like to think of them almost, college basketball like Villanova, right? Villanova's not doing well this year, but Villanova day in, day out is going to, they are going to be a tough test. And I think Roncalli is just like that. New Holstein then is in third they come in at number 6 in the conference. Sheboygan Falls come in 7th. Chilton 8th. Touch on New Holstein, right? I mean, it's been just these last few years, it's been kind of a retool year coming off, of course, the highs, right? In 2018, 2017, the teams they put together, but, New Holstein over time. I mean, it's up, right? I mean, or when I say it's up, I'm saying, right, hopefully it can only go up from here, right? They're 2-12 overall. I just feel over time, right, this New Holstein squad is going to put together some better games, and they're going to be back to the days in 2018, 2017, right, when they were conference champs. Sheboygan Falls, I was actually at a Valdez Sheboygan Falls game last week. I mean, I'm telling you, this Sheboygan Falls team, that 1-11 record, I mean, they came out playing some pretty good ball to start against Valdez. They have some shooters, they have some guys, right? Who could, they could put together a tough 36 minutes too. I know that, right, the record might not show that, but I do think this Sheboygan Falls team, Brady Schneider averaging 11, Dane Nikolai averaging 7. I think this team, right? I mean, they're fairly young as well. I like to highlight that. A lot of 2020, 2025 in this team. There's some 2023, but Brady Schneider returning next year. I think that's something that we just need to keep in mind. And then Chilton rounding it out. Look, they're 1-6. It's been a tough year for the Tigers. I can't lie on that, but Max Miller's been a bright spot for this team. Will Fierbringer, I mean, there's been I feel that they've, had some games. They've also put together, some decent ones. I mean, they beat Two Rivers on last Thursday. Zach Hollbach on top, Warren Wilcox. I mean, these are solid guys, right? I mean, Robert and I were talking about as well. I mean, there's some guys on this team, but a pretty senior heavy, class. I mean, Ryan Piarki returning, Zach Hollbach returning. I mean, there's some guys coming back, but overall, pretty senior heavy group. Coach Corey Banky's squad. I feel, and I'm not just saying this to be nice to some of the teams bottom. Like these are tougher teams. This is the Eastern Wisconsin Conference, and they schedule tough non-con games on top of it. A lot of EWC teams do, but look, Chilton's a lot better than 3-9. Fall's a lot better than 1-11. I'm telling you, even New Holstein 2-12. These teams, they have a second half of the year. They have something to prove, and hopefully can put together some winning streaks here. Chilton gets a good start winning against Two Rivers there, but there's time to pick it up, right, for these teams, and who knows what can happen in March, right? They call it March Madness, and even in high school, right, things can happen. We'll go to girls here, and we'll go through the stats and standings report as we do here. Brilliant on top of the conference, 8-0. They are 12-1 overall. New Holstein 6-2 in conference, 9-5 overall. Kiel 5-3, conference 8-7 overall. Chilton 5-3 in conference, 9-5 overall. Valders 4-4 in conference, 8-8 overall. Sheboygan Falls 3-5 in conference, 8-6 overall. Roncalli 1-7 in conference, 3-12 overall. And Two Rivers 0-8 in conference, 2-14 overall. Your stats report. We'll go as we see the Two Rivers Raider Allison Kakis, 21.9 points a game for her. She's atop the EWC. Grace Shizzle of New Holstein follows her second, 21.4 a game. Megan Schumann of Brilliant, 16.1 a game. Peyton Grenzer, 15.2, along with Addison Schwele, 15.2. The rebounds for both EWC boys and girls is fairly similar, as we have the top. I mean, it's stayed similar the whole year. Peyton Grenzer, 13.8 a game. Addison Schwele, 12.9. Allison Kakis, 11.5. Olivia Shu leads the league in assists, 4.6. For her, Alyssa Wolfel, 4.5. And then Allison Kakis, 4.1 there. And I'll give you the schedule here. Tonight we got some games as well. We have St. Mary's Springs traveling to Roncalli. And then we had a game canceled where Roncalli was supposed to go to Sturgeon Bay. Sheboygan Falls, though, they're going to go to Cedar Grove, Belgium tonight at 7:15. That, by the way, that St. Mary's Springs Roncalli game's at 6 o'clock tonight, so that's starting shortly here. Tomorrow we have Chilton. They're going to go to Hilbert at 4:30. I don't know why the time's here, but then we also have New Holstein going to Mishicot. We have Brilliant going to Reedsville. We have Kiel, Manitowoc Lutheran, a little Big East EWC thing going on. Then we have Oconto going to go to Valders tomorrow night, 7:15 there. For all those except New Holstein, Mishicot, 7. And that 4:30 one, of course. But Thursday, we do have an EWC slate. I can give you that here. We have Oconto. I read that one already. We have Chilton traveling to Valders. We have Kiel to Sheboygan Falls. We have New Holstein coming to Brilliant. That's going to be a good one Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Roncalli then to Two Rivers. Saturday, we have some non-con 2 games here. Denmark to Sheboygan Falls at 2:30, and then at 3:30, Sheboygan Lutheran to New Holstein. So, yeah, I mean, I'd circle, get your calendar out. I'd circle Thursday, January 19th. I'd circle 7 o'clock, or I'd write down 7 o'clock as the time, and then I'd circle Brilliant High School after I write down. So that's what I do. I think that's going to be, I'll tell you, that's going to be a good one. That's going to be a game. However, New Holstein having 2 losses makes it, less exciting than if it was 1. But let's see if Brilliant can get knocked off for their first conference loss. If they lose, though, they will still be in the lead of the conference. But I'll go through the EWC here as I did for the boys. So Brilliant. We talked about they have this group of seniors that almost like the boys that have been playing all together their whole life. Megan Schumann, first team unanimous. This team 12-1. They're going to win the EWC in my opinion. So, Brilliant doing great things. New Holstein, though, I think, has, the top duo in the conference. I put the top duo here. As right, it's Grenzer Shizzle. I mean, they've played very well together, and they've put together the stats. Don't lie here. They are combined are averaging 36 a game. I mean, when they're averaging combined 36, the team's 56. Talk about a dynamic duo. I mean, that's powerful right there, and that's what you're seeing with New Holstein. And those two have kind of led them here to this 9-5 start. Right, New Holstein girls basketball has done very well last 2-3 years. So Kiel, number 3, they're 5-3, as I mentioned. Kiel this year, it's been different. Coach Vanderbilt in his second season. Emma Edelman leading the way though, 15 a game for her. So it's been Edelman leading the way, and then it's been this team. Right, 8-7 I mentioned. Scheduling wise, it's been they've lost to the good teams in the conference. When I say good teams like Brilliant, they lost to by 21. It's been tough for Kiel against the good teams. I think that's kind of that's my takeaway. Like they've beaten the teams they're really expected to beat, but like those on the fence games, that's where they've struggled. And when I say on the fence, like Valders, for example, they lose them by 7. Other ones, they lose to like Plymouth. They lose to, they lost to Brilliant twice already. They've lost to like some other non-con ones. So I think, right, it's easier said than done, but for EWC girls, looking for them to, play, or hoping for that Kiel Raider team to just play, those toss-up games, right, and get the win there. But we'll go to Chilton, right, talk about what's going on with them. Adeline Hurl, right, has been the story for the team off to a 9-5 start, 5-3 in conference. And right now she's averaging 15 and 11 for her. So, I mean, we're looking right at a borderline, first, second team player in Hurl, and she's played very well this year. I think I'd go to her and Maddie Tash, the 2 double-digit scores for this Chilton Tigers squad. I point to them on the success Chilton's had, and I mean, I just want to talk about the transformation this girls basketball team has had the last few years. I mean, there was, right, I mean, remember the seasons. I'll try to even go back to it here. Did they win game? They were 1-17, 2020, 2021. And I just want to talk about the transformation, right? I mean, it's hard to call it a rebuild in high school, but talk about the retooling done by a team like the Chilton Tigers. On the girl, I mean, just credit Stacy Wolfel's team, right? And also the girls who they brought in, right? I mean, they're 9-5 right now, and like just 2 years ago, right? They won 1 game, and even last year they're 14-12. Like we're on pace to finish with most regular season wins in a while for Chilton. So I just want to highlight them. The great things they've been able to do there. It might not be a conference title, which it looks like it won't be, but credit where credit's due. They've still put together a very good team. Valders here in the 5th place mark. Not where Valders likes to be historically, but this team 4-4, 8-8. I mean, it's a 500 team right now, and they lost a lot of star talent the last few years, but they've still been able to put together a competitive team, and that's really what you're looking for. Right? Credit Eric Otto. They have a young class, on that team. Right? I mean, Claire Zipper leading score 13 a game, 13-8 for her. So, it's just overall a young team. And I think that's something that you're looking right this year. You're looking down the road for this team. Claire Zipper 2024 next year. They have some other young players on that squad. But, I mean, I think you're looking next year. You're looking at Valders as a top 3-4 team in the conference. Just right now, they're, like I mentioned, they're young, they're inexperienced, and that's going to be what this year's about. I call this a retool year for Valders. If I'm throwing the word retool around, but Sheboygan Falls checks in at number 6. We mentioned Schweely. We mentioned the work she's done. She's really been this team, the heart and soul of this team, 15-13 for her. She's put together a very good year, and keep in mind, she graduates in 2025. You have another year of her. She's a sophomore right now. So, I mean, Schweely, I'm looking first team unanimous in 2024, for sure next year. But, this year, 2022, 2023, definitely see some conference recognition for her. And, This team's 8-6 overall. I mean, they might be 3-5 in conference, but they've put together a solid record overall. And this is another girls basketball team that wants to get back to right. It was Valor Sheboygan Falls always 1-2. Kiel thrown in there. These teams are going to use this year as again that retool, and they're going to put together a team that's going to compete for a conference title next year. But going around Collie, currently 3-12. It's been a struggle for the Jets, but they've been able to hang in there, stay competitive in some games here. But Valder's game was tough last week. They lose by 36. This team right now, Roncalli, I talked about young rosters. I feel like, the teams near the bottom of the conference tend to have younger rosters, but I mean, that's exactly this team. I'll just tell you, if you go to the roster page, you'll see a lot of 2025 on a varsity roster. You're going to see sophomores on a varsity roster. That just points to the inexperience this team has, and that's something that, again, when you're starting sophomores, what happens is, right, I mean, these are the same players that'll start next year. Next year, you see the experience come. You really do when you're playing 25 games a year. So just keep that in mind with Roncalli and Two Rivers rounding it out here. Really tough year for the Raiders, but, I got to highlight Allison Kakis' numbers here, right? 22 a game, 22, 12, and 4 assists. She's putting up video game-like numbers here. The EWC girls season, first team unanimous player for her, and she's leading the way for that Raider squad. She's been the heart and soul for them, and hopefully they can turn it around here in the second half. But that's going to wrap it up here for the EWC midseason recaps. We're going to go transition right here to Milwaukee Bucks basketball. Then we'll go to Milwaukee Brewers. So yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks today played on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Mentioned it was a day game here, and they got the job done over the Indiana Pacers. 132-119 was that final. They were losing. TJ McConnell was going off in the first half. I was like, well, what is going on? And, Giannis was out. So, again, I knew what was going on, but I knew the defense was going to be shaky. They gave up 119 to the Pacers team without Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton, Oshkosh North native, I should add, or Oshkosh North alum. He's not from, whatever. But in this one, Drew Holiday puts up 35 and 11 assists. That being has a big game. It's good to have him back in the lineup. Really is. He's such a difference maker out there. And yeah, I mean, they get the job done after losing that back-to-back in Miami. It was looking ugly. No worries. They take care of it. And then they go tomorrow to Toronto, or home. They host Toronto. That's on TNT. Toronto played them tough last time in Toronto. We'll see what happens here. I'm worried about Saturday's game. It's at Cleveland. Cleveland's played well. They've been able to score the ball. If Giannis is not playing that one, I think he'll be back. But I'm worried about Giannis not playing that one specifically. You need Giannis in a lot of games. Like they could win today without Giannis, but you need Giannis Friday or Saturday and Cleveland's divisional game too. Cavs, I believe, are in the fifth spot in the East. So it's a crucial game. And, you can't just point to one regular season game out of 82, but really it's crucial. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Bucks. Again, Giannis been out with some soreness. Middleton's still not back. Bucks 28-16. Just check out the Bucks prediction post. That's where you'll kind of find my opinions on this stuff. But I do want to touch on the Milwaukee Brewers, though, before we wrap this episode up here. I want to keep the Wisconsin Really Sports brief, off season for baseball and Bucks. It's kind of a tough week. It's kind of tough to discuss, a lot of what's going on with the Bucks here. But I do like to dive in the previews and look ahead here as we do these episodes on Mondays. But with the Milwaukee Brewers, we had some good news come in. They landed that trio of international prospects. They landed 3 players inside the top 50, which is always exciting. And they historically have been very good in the international market. And when I say international market, I'm talking about that signing period between MLB teams and international prospects. As there's not an international draft yet, that was wanted, but They get 3 guys. I'll touch on them here. Yoferi Rodriguez being the number 22 overall one. And then we saw, and that was for 1.5 million, I should add. We saw a shortstop, Filippo Deturi, who's number 33, and that was for 1.3 million. And then number 35 was Kevin Ariu, and he was a shortstop, and that was for 1.4 million. And so with that, they got 3 guys. They got, right, it was an outfielder. And you tend to want those outfielders, those guys who are center fielders. So that's someone who you hope could maybe stick in center, potentially move around. Just a lot of versatility with Rodriguez is what you want long term. And then I mentioned 2 shortstops as well. So I mean, talk about positions you want guys, right? You want to get the shortstop, you want to get the center fielder, those guys, and maybe if it doesn't work out in short, you move him to third, right? You don't want to get that guy who's maybe a second baseman already, who might be stuck at second base, and there's not a lot of versatility because if you start second, it can't really move you to short. I mean, there's a reason you start at second. So just always think position for when you're signing, right? These guys you can sign at 16. It's important. So it's good to see, that's good to see when you're looking into some of these athletes and when you're looking right in scouting as well. And of course, there's a lot of other great things here about these guys, these 3 gentlemen today, but we'll save that here for, the Brewers season preview, Brewers farm report, right? I'm not going to dive too much into that, but all I will tell you is they got 3 top 50 guys, and they made up for that bitter taste in people's mouths that came from arbitration, right? The process that we know players are able to go through for that 3-year period before free agency. And what we saw was, we saw Corbin Burns go through, and right now the 2 sides are off $740,000, right? $740,000, which might not seem like a lot, which in the grand scheme of things for how much players get paid, not really, but it's important to recognize that this is a process that has been gone through for years now, and that it's the owners, right? I mean, owners are going to fight, and when I say owners, I'm talking about, right, the front offices. They're going to fight for specific amounts because, right, I mean, if player A gets this amount, right, then player B from another team, right, it's the owners together, front offices together. And I like to say, right, this is business. I mean, it's a business at the end of the day, and I don't like to see Burns going through something like this. And we know what arbitration hearings consist of, right? I mean, it's going to be player or right team A talking about why player A is not worth the amount of money they want, and that's not. I don't want to be sitting on that for Burns. I'm just happy. Didn't really happen with anyone else, right? I mean, we saw Adrian Hauser last year have to go through it over a really small amount. But right now it's just Corbin Burns. So I just wanted to throw that out there for those who might not have been following. A lot of arbitration going on. I mean, that's, again, it's part of the game. Just hope this doesn't affect extensions. Hopefully they make it up here. Get Burns that extension. Get Woodruff that extension. Get Adames that extension. I know it's not likely to get 3 of them. I don't think they will, but get 2 of those 3, I'll be happy. So that's where I'm at with the Milwaukee Brewers. And I'm going to throw some announcements at you here before I wrap it up here on this Monday night. So what we're looking at for this week, Journey to a Million Thursday is when you'll find that recording. And on top of that, we will we'll be talking about the playoffs, right? Wild card weekend wraps up tonight. Super wild card weekend, I should add. And then we'll be previewing the divisional round. We'll be recapping wild card. We'll be talking football. Hopefully no golf this week. We talked golf for like 20 minutes. So if you like golf, check that out. At Drew Sports Crew, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok is where you'll find that. You'll find all the good stuff on there. Team of the Week posts for NBA, power rankings, MVP ladder, all that good stuff is going to be found at Drew Sports Crew on those platforms. Even right, the football power rankings are on there and other football content. But at J2M Football is where you might see content that would be posted on at Drew Sports Crew a day earlier potentially or whatnot. There's also bonus content on there, right? NFL awards dropped today. Zach crafted his NFL awards. If you want to see that, go follow at J2M Football on TikTok. Just go do it. I promise you will not, or you will appreciate me telling you to follow it because we got a lot of good content on there. Zach will give you parlays for each of all the big games, right? I mean, power rankings will be up on there potentially earlier. I touched on the awards post. Just check it out and go give it a follow, right? We want to get more followers on there. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up here for myself, Drew Skyberg, on this Monday night, episode 97 here of Drew Sports Crew. Thank you all for listening to yet another episode of Drew Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.